Hello there, welcome to the Tournament Center. Marshall Sutcliffe with Matt Sperling. Matt, welcome. We're gonna get a chance to take a look now at your day 2 draft here at the Pro Tour. But before we dive into the actual picks, I wanted to talk to you about this black-white life gain deck. Now, no spoilers here, but where are you at on this deck?
I like it quite a bit. It's one of the, basically, I think starting a draft with a black card, for example, gives you flexibility to kind of go in a number of directions. One of those directions I really like is a black-white controlling life gain deck. A lot of cards you can get late in the pack that gain life. A lot of really powerful cards once you have those life gain effects. There's 2 uncommon cards really that give +1/+1 counters when you gain life. Those are going to be kind of the backbone of the deck. If I see one of those about late, I like to move in. I think that other people aren't really interested in your cards, so the deck has a high ceiling in my experience, and people aren't fighting for the key cards. To me, that's kind of the right mix for something I'm looking to go into.
You feel like it's a little under the radar right now?
I do. I know that our team valued, for example, 1/2 ally, when an ally comes into play.
Colostra Healer.
Colostra Healer. Our team valued that card very highly. I know other teams, some may have valued that card highly, others probably didn't. So on average, we're going to benefit from that if we think the card's very good.
Yeah, and that's where you can get that informational edge here at the Pro Tour in the early stages. Let's jump into the picks and see how this draft actually went for you.
Sure.
Now, this first one is super interesting because the card that just jumps off the page here is Rolling Thunder. It's widely considered one of the best uncommons in the pack. How did you dissect this one?
Yeah, so this is where if your only goal is to take the most powerful card in the pack, you would take Rolling Thunder. I didn't take it. I don't like drafting. I don't like my first pick to be red. Here's why. I'm never going to play green in this format unless something goes wrong. So I don't want to touch a green card. I don't think that red-white has a very high ceiling. So if if you think about that, the options are starting to kind of close off.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way. And then when you get down to black-red and blue-red, people are fighting for those devoid cards. This table has 7 other talented players who performed well on day 1. I don't expect to get the key enablers late. Just not that interested in taking a red card. On the other hand, complete disregard, for my mind, the perfect first pick. Control deck, aggressive deck, devoid deck, black-white life gain. You don't care about devoid. It's going to go in all those decks. It's going to be great in all those decks.
Easy to cast, cheap, instant speed. It really is kind of hit a nice cross-section for a lot of different decks here.
And I mentioned the decks that I'm willing to draft and prioritize. It almost makes this an artifact because black is in so many of those decks. So now I'm kind of wide open with a card that's not as good as Rolling Thunder, but not too far behind.
Okay, so let's take a look at how things go here for the second pick for you. How do you break down this pack?
So let me get another look at it here. We've got not a lot of cards that pair fantastically with the complete disregard.
Yeah, I see a
Cosmic Sentinel.
It's okay.
In a vacuum, that would be the pick. Unfortunately, you saw me ship a Rolling Thunder and a blue-red rare that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah.
Which is actually really powerful. Bounce a spell
the
or
brutal
a creature.
expulsion. Mm-hmm.
So if I go red-black, you have to get all these devoid cards. It's really, if people start plucking your key cards, you end up with I think a pretty mediocre aggressive deck a lot of the time. I believe I went with Tide Drifter.
Yeah, you took Tide Drifter here.
Because now if I'm a blue-black devoid, I like that card quite a bit.
It's very good.
Another card that we placed, I suspect higher than the average team placed it. So I think it pairs it's fine for the blue-black devoid deck. That's now the direction I'm headed.
Yeah, and we can see that you're positioning yourself for an archetype here, not just taking raw power level cards here. Let's take a look at your third pick as things start to develop here for Matt Sperling.
This is where things get, in my opinion, really interesting because Mist Intruder is a card that is a perfect enabler, a very reasonable third pick, a card that other teams are taking highly when you're blue-black. You need to get that effect. But you'll see the card next to it.
Yeah, Serene Steward here.
I'm kind of proud of myself for making this pick because I kind of stuck to my pre-draft strategy despite having drafted a blue card second. That strategy is you see one of these key cards in the black-white light, you're either black or white. I'm maybe abandoning that 05 card. I don't mind that. If I can get one of the premium cards for the black-white archetype, this is going to send me in that direction. It's also a signal. It's also an archetype I don't think these other good players are maybe valuing as highly as they should. So let's see what happens and move in.
All right, so he's looking for the high ceiling. Let's keep things moving along here as we check out your next few picks here. And this pack doesn't look amazing for you. I do see a Retreat to Emeria, which is a card I know a lot of cards have their eye on. There's another Mist Intruder up there.
So I think this didn't look amazing to you because you had your back to the Retreat to Emeria. But in the black-white deck, it has a lot of ally synergy, actually, this deck, with cards that trigger... I think in the first pack, I actually passed that healer, and there's a chance that it tables. It wasn't tabling in our drafts. It tables at some of these Pro Tour drafts. I don't know. But either way, that's a card that's going to be powerful if I can get the ally synergies in my deck. So although having 2 Mist Intruders would have sent me on a nice path towards blue-black, that's in the rear view mirror.
But you wanted the black-white here.
I wanted
so you
Retreat
took
to
Retreat to
Emeria.
Emeria.
Excited to see it in that pack.
Great. All right, let's take a look at your next pick here. Now, things look like they lighten up a little for you here.
Yeah,
I think you ended up taking the Expedition Envoy out of this pack.
Yeah.
Nothing too exciting.
So I've already got the Retreat. I'm thinking about allies. But more importantly, there just aren't many good cards in this pack.
Yeah.
There's some powerful green cards. Like I said, I'm kind of looking...
You're off it.
I'll let someone else draft the green deck, so I'm happy to take it out. I'm not happy, but I'll take it.
Okay, and this pack, now this is a key pack for you, I'm assuming here, because we were talking about this black-white life gain deck, and talk to us about Zulaport Cutthroat here.
Yeah, you've got a core castigator that's a reasonable pick. It's an ally, nothing wrong with it. But the Zulaport Cutthroat is one of those high ceiling synergy cards. Ben Stark said, this format is like a modern Masters 2. You draft for a high ceiling, you want to know what you're doing and draft the cards that do that instead of just like filling out your curve with stuff like, 3-1 for 2. This card, as I'm making tokens, as I'm deploying allies, it's gonna let me get those life gain triggers I need, finish people off using sacrifice effects. So that's a signal that no one else is thinking on this wavelength. I'm going to keep getting cards like that late, I suspect.
And it happens to be an ally, too, to just keep those synergies flowing.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's kind of burn through these next few picks here. As I kind of want to, so you take an Eyeless Watcher, I believe, out of this pack, but like you said, you're not really looking for that.
There's one exception to that, is if you can get 2 of the Tajiru Warcaller and you get a couple Eyeless Watchers.
That's what it takes to get Matt Sperling in green?
Chapin taught me how to draft that deck, and he said you become a green-white allies deck, splash black. It's a nice backdoor to have. There's no other card here, so let's keep that open. Okay, so we're moving right through here. Let's see, you pick up a Defiant Bloodlord here, which is a little expensive, but could go in the deck. The other good players in this pool have identified this as not a black card you want in most black decks. In the black-white deck, however, it's a finisher. The perfect curve topper. It's just a great blocker, and then if they have to draw a card, shrug and say go. I mean, that's game. So
that's game. Yeah.
Happy to have it.
Now, this pack, you pick up a Lithomancer's Focus, but I'm actually really interested in the next couple of packs as we wind this down, because you did get the Stonehaven Medic back. And if we go to the 11th pick here, the other one came back too. Yeah. So now you've got to be feeling good about where you're at here with this black-white deck. That's the payoff. I mean, now I've got more than enough playables through pack 1. But not only that, but these are actually the cards you want in your curve. You want these. I've got the 2/2 that triggers. That's a great combo. I can get that started early in the game. So now I'm excited about where I'm at. Okay, so let's move on to the next pick. Now I kept this one a little shorter, but wow! So this is, by the way, all of your picks here from pack 1. So here's what I'm looking at after pack 1. Yeah, and so if we move on to pack 2, pick 1. Let's see how things start shaping up for you here. What jumps off the page to you? I mean, I know what I see. I see Ulamog, though it doesn't seem to fit in your strategy super well. So I've had a ton of success with Ulamog. I went to time on this pick. I could not decide between Tajiro Warcaller, leave myself open for that double Warcaller, or take Ulamog, a card that if I can get like a Hedron Archive, I believe it's called, or a couple of the 5-mana channelers, that's a card that could make my main deck, or it could just be a great sideboard card against a really slow 06 wall type of deck. Because my pack 1 went, I think, so well and so deep, I'm actually going for the Ulamog. That's sweet. I'll keep my deck with a high ceiling if I get one of those Hedron Archives and a great sideboard card. I just don't want to end up with a train wreck trying to go green and not knowing what to do. Take the Ulamog, a card that I 3-0'd a draft with yesterday. And is colorless. All right, let's move on to pack 2, pick 2 here. Now, what did you find here? This pack does not look super exciting for you. No, this is just kind of the pack's not breaking right. There's just not a card that fits into my strategy. Blighted Fen is a card I actually dislike quite a bit when you're playing a white control deck, because they often have just a crummy creature sitting around that has been staring at your blockers, and you need a lot of white and black mana, and the other land is the white land's better. Long story short, Evolving Wilds, I might end up splashing something, even if I'm not. I have Retreat to Emeria. Yeah. So when you've got the cards you've already picked in the back of your mind, these cards can move up a little bit. Sure, and yeah, just kind of a bad pack for you here.
Yeah.
Pack 2, pick 3. Let's take a look at this one and see if things improve for Matt Sperling here.
Absolutely, they do. March from the Tomb.
Wow.
You know, it's funny because if I had opened the pack with that, I would have probably tried to table it. At this point, though,
it's a little too risky
the
for you.
The 5-color ally deck is going to eat that before it gets back to me, assuming there's one at the table. So I have to just grab that card. It's amazing if you get those healers and those cutthroats, some sacrifice effects. This ends up being a bomb card in the black-white
great
ally
pickup
deck
for you here. Let's take a look at your next pick here. And what did you take out of this pack, Matt?
So, Calastria Healer, when you have either of the black-white life gain decks, the one with not that many allies or the one with a lot of allies, this card shines in either one. When you
Super happy.
When you have Retreat to Emeria, it becomes almost that much more. When you have the return up to 8 casting costs, and I apologize for not knowing the names of any of these cards.
It's March from the Tomb, yeah.
I know what they do,
Yes.
I just don't, the names escape me, but this is going to be a perfect fit for my deck.
All right, now let's take a look at the overall picture here for your pack 2, pick 2. I see that you pick up a few removal spells, another Zulaport Cutthroat down here, which is nice.
Yep.
But not an amazing pack. Let's move on to pack 3 here, as I want to make sure we get through this with enough time to talk, because you've got some decent stuff out of this pack. The one that jumps out to me is Serene Steward here.
Yeah. Had I drafted it a little differently, maybe this becomes a green-white ally deck. That War Leader would have been a nice card. As I have it, perfectly happy to pick that. You know, the Serene Steward, really, like I said, one of the premium cards for the archetype.
All right, let's move on to your next pick here as we kind of wind down your draft here.
Yeah, I don't have the exile ability. I've got one complete disregard. I don't have the ability to turn on Blight Herder. So even though that's a bomb card, it's not really on the radar for me. What is on the radar is Blighted Step. I have the ability to make tokens in my deck. I've got the ability to use the life gain as a triggered ability, and it doesn't cost me a spell slot. Just it's gonna be good in my deck.
Yeah, big finisher with your 7-mana creature as well. Let's move on to the next pick here.
That's a good point.
And I see that you've got a Sheer Drop here. Is that the card that jumped out to you? I mean, there's Painful Truths, which can do things with all the life gain.
Nothing wrong with Painful Truths, but you have to prioritize removal when you're playing a slow deck. I have a slow deck. I don't have a lot of removal. This was Sheer Drop the whole way.
No question for Matt here. Let's take a look at pick 4 now.
So this actually is an interesting pick. I can use Ally Encampment in my deck. It smooths my mana out a little bit. It's like a dual land in my deck. I can certainly use another Death Touch Nirkana Assassin. One of the combos with that is the arrows.
Yes, right, of course. You can make a little machine gun.
In my, I think I have to kind of take that Rising Miasma. It becomes a defensive draft, but not only that, it's an excellent sideboard card against landfall that leaves a bunch of 2/2s on your turn, and against the ally deck that leaves like Tajira Warcaller on the board with a bunch of 2/1 mana guys. It's both a D draft and an excellent sideboard card. I have to take it over these more replacement level cards. Again, drafting for high ceiling.
Take a look at your next pick here, Matt, and what do we have here? There's another Calastria Healer.
Yep, and I'd love to take the other Rising Miasma for the same reasons I just outlined. I can't pass a key card in order to do it though.
Yeah.
So here I gotta just bite the bullet, take my second healer. I'm sad to pass a Miasma, but I'm really happy that now I might get 2 of these in play, or I'm gonna more often have at least 1 in play.
Right. All right, one more pick out of this pack.
Sure, so here, earlier in this pack, I passed the card that costs 4 mana and makes an ally for each color of mana you spend.
Unified Front,
This Prairie Stream is a free way to sometimes get a 3rd color out of that card. I don't have any Converge yet. I don't have any blue cards, but if I can get that card back, this will be the pick. And it's not anything great for me.
Yeah.
I end up taking this, and I end up getting that ally card back.
You
it makes
do.
my deck, and now I've got a way to turn it on.
Yeah, we might. Let's take a look here. There we go. There's all your picks, and you get back the Unified Front down here.
I mentioned Pathway Arrows.
Yeah.
If you're trying to draft this deck at home, you want to keep an eye out for if you can get 2 or 3 of the 2/3 that gains Death Touch, and you can
Nirkana
get arrows
Assassin.
or 2. All of a sudden, you start putting together a Visara the Dreadful. You
that's
assemble your
nasty.
own, and it's really, really hard to beat. That's one of the ways in which this deck can become really powerful.
Okay, well, great stuff, Matt. Thanks for taking the time to walk us through this Black-White Allies life gain deck. It is a little under the radar, but maybe not so much now that Matt's taught us about it. Thanks again, Matt, for your time signing off here from the Tournament Center.
My pleasure.